Hey everyone, I'm going to jump right into things here with a few what I think are some disturbing updates regarding the solar eclipse. On April 8th, the day the eclipse will go through 15 states, though 2 are barely within the 100% totality range. On that same day, NASA has decided to fire 3 rockets into the shadow of the moon. Why would they do that? Well, there are a lot of conspiracies, obviously, but according to one official article, the science goal is to help scientists understand how the sudden drop in sunlight affects our planet's blanket of air. Another article stated the study would focus on atmospheric disturbances triggered by the eclipse that could interfere with satellite signals and radio frequencies. Of a curious note, the mission's name is APEP, Atmospheric Perturbations Around the Eclipse Path. Now, that sounds sciencey enough, but Apep was the ancient Egyptian deity who embodied darkness and disorder and was therefore the opponent of light. I'm sure that doesn't mean anything, and it's all on the up and up, and I'm sure all they're doing is measuring temperature changes, but I'm not going to speculate on any of that because I just don't know. But there's one video by a gentleman who has some unique advice to offer about viewing the eclipse. And I was totally with him until he said, well, just watch the video.
Why is it that the government want to launch missiles at the eclipse in April? Why? Why this one? Out of all of the eclipse, why this one? I can tell you that when this eclipse comes, I will be outside. Because I know what they fear is not an enemy of mine. See, your enemy got you thinking that your savior is your enemy. And so therefore you will fight me to say that this man is crazy. And I'm hoping that many of you will be hugging on trees, standing in soil, burying jars of water with cinnamon in it, Ceylon cinnamon, and drinking it the next day.
I don't know about you, but that is a super nice bathrobe. Now, I don't normally wear bathrobes because I just get really, really hot, but I might make an exception for that one. Anyway, it's not just NASA. CERN has decided to get on the action as well, and on April the 8th, they are going to fire up their Large Hadron Collider. In case you didn't know, CERN is the European Organization for Nuclear Research, and it's the world's most famous laboratory for particle physics. The lab is located on the border of France and Switzerland near Geneva, as you can see here on the map. The particle accelerator sits 300 feet underground. It first went live in September 2008, and the last time it was fired up was in April of 2022. I went to their website for details about their plans on April 8th, like why choose this date to fire it up, and literally got a headache just trying to understand the article. Fortunately, I found another article a little more on my level. As reported by the Daily Mail, the Large Hadron Collider's mission goes far beyond particle physics, aiming to corroborate theories put forth by esteemed physicist Professor Peter Higgs in 1964. By studying the Higgs boson and its role in bestowing mass to particles, scientists aspire to uncover fundamental revelations about the origins and evolution of the universe, even amidst the anticipation surrounding the 2024 eclipse. As I'm sure some of you may know, Higgs boson is sometimes referred to as the God particle. Now, I am not going to pretend that I understand anything about physics or subatomic particles because, good grief, but during a briefing with reporters in 2009, Sergio Bertolucci, the director for research and scientific computing at CERN from 2009 to 15, said, "Out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it. And this may also raise new issues that researchers cannot as yet imagine." When I read that statement, the first thing that I thought of was the book of Revelation. And in Revelation chapter 9, an angel is given the key to open the bottomless pit, and a great smoke comes out of it, along with locusts that were given power like scorpions to torment men for 5 months. It speaks of men seeking death but being unable to find it. Verses 7 through 10 give a horrifying picture of what these things are going to look like, and it is nothing like anything that we have ever seen before. So with NASA and CERN doing their thing, there is a lot of discussion on social media of black holes, wormholes, and open doors being created as a result of their meddling in the universe. Again, I am not commenting on any of that other than what the door reminded me of, because I don't know. And honestly, I'm not sure it would do any of us any good to know. But I have to say that talk of opening doorways to other dimensions or universes tends to freak people out, including Christians who are already very well aware of the spiritual world around us, one that we cannot see, where the rulers of the darkness of this age dwell. And since we're already talking about CERN, there's another theory out there. This one is a little wacky, one that believes scientists at CERN have already opened a doorway and have gone back in time and supernaturally changed the wording of the Bible. One man in a video that I watched claims to have witnessed the change with his own eyes. One day, a verse in his Bible said one thing, a week later, it said something else. And if you want to know more about that, all you have to do is Google Mandela effect and supernatural Bible changes, and you'll be loaded down longer than you want to be with that information. Now, before you laugh at this, because I did, I want to ask you, have you ever heard the phrase, "The lion shall lie down with the lamb"? I have, and so did script writers for Sergeant York, a 1941 movie starring Gary Cooper. The writers of Jeopardy have heard it, music lyric writers, as well as several pastors. Just watch this.
Proverbs 600. The lion shall lie down with this animal. Mary Grace.
What is the lamb?
Right.
The will be gentle, and the wolf will be tamed, and the lion shall lay down by the lamb. Oh,
mankind will bow before the altars of God and be crowned triumphant over war and bloodshed, and non-violent redemptive goodwill proclaim the rule of the land. And the lion and the lamb shall lie down together.
I believe there'll come a day when the lion and the lamb will lie down in peace together in Jerusalem.
It says so right in the Bible. The day will come when the lion will lay down with the lamb.
The lion will lie down with the lamb. There'll be no more killing or destroying.
I spent 3 days obsessed with this topic, asking myself if it was even possible. I mean, there are a lot of people that have false memories if the verse, "and the lion shall lie down with the lamb," was never in the Bible. And I find that very curious. And there are a lot of very curious things going on lately, but if you look at your Bible today, the verse in question, Isaiah 11:6, makes no mention whatsoever of a lion lying down with a lamb. Nope. Not even really old Bibles say that. I have a Bible that belonged to my grandmother's sister. No lion lying down with the lamb. When we went to get our taxes done last month, there was a huge and very old Bible, like falling apart old, on a fireplace mantle. I immediately took it down and looked up Isaiah 11:6. No lion and lamb. Even though there have been songs about it, paintings, sculptures, one of which is in front of Sight and Sound Theater in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and here is a photo of it. It is absolutely beautiful. And Pastor Billy Graham himself referenced Isaiah 11:6 on page 126 of his book, Angels, which I own, when he wrote, "The prophets spoke of a wonderful day when God would lift the curse, when the lion and the lamb would lie down together, and when nations would learn war no more." And then, as you can see in parentheses, he references Isaiah 2:4 and Isaiah 11:6. Now, Isaiah 2:4 reads in part, He shall judge between the nations and rebuke many people. Neither shall they learn war anymore. So he's referencing nations learning no more war in Isaiah 2:4. So Isaiah 11:6 should reference the lion lying down with the lamb, right? No. Here's what Isaiah 11:6 says. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb. The leopard shall lie down with the young goat. The calf and the young lion and the fatling together. And a little child shall lead them. I'm just going to leave that right there. So moving on. So far we have the solar eclipse, NASA and CERN all making an appearance on April the 8th. But what might be even more icky, I guess, is what's going to happen toward the end of April. If everything else I talked about doesn't bother you, this might. For the first time in over 200 years, 2 broods of periodical cicadas will emerge and trillions of bugs will begin to cover parts of the United States. And you heard that right, trillions. When I first heard about this, I had to look up cicadas versus locusts because the whole month of April already has a plagues of Egypt and Revelation kind of vibe to it. But no, locusts and cicadas are not the same, and here's a photo to show that. But trillions, and it's not unprecedented. It's happened before, 200 years ago in the 1800s. And here's the map of where you might not want to be when those things come out of the ground. If you live in the area where the blue meets the red, you might want to take a vacation toward the end of April. On a side note, cicadas, they are creepy looking, but they are nothing compared to cicada killer wasps, which happen to make an appearance around the same time as the cicadas and also happen to infest the backyard of someone that I know. And here's a photo of those things. And yes, they really are that big. Again, moving on. In addition to the solar eclipse on April 8th, another celestial event will be in the night skies. Officially known as 12P Pons Brooks, the Devil Comet, and there we go with those funny little names again, will be visible. According to astronomy.com, on April 8th, when the eclipse reaches the phase of totality, several stars, 6 planets, and Pons Brooks will be visible as the sky turns pitch black during the total solar eclipse. Jupiter will serve as the most convenient guide to locate the Devil Comet, named for appearing to have devil horns due to periodic volcanic-like eruptions of ice and gas. The comet will lie just 6 degrees west of Jupiter and about 24.5 degrees northeast of the sun. It will be bright green in appearance, and you may be able to see it using a pair of binoculars. Although the comet might be visible on the 8th, the best time to view it is before April 21st, and after that it's going to start becoming fainter, and it may not even be visible with binoculars or telescopes. And last but not least, here is a photo of earthquake locations in the past 7 days with a magnitude of 2.0 or greater in the United States. And just this morning, there was a 4.8 magnitude earthquake followed by a 2.0 aftershock in New Jersey, which was felt in New York, Connecticut, and parts of Pennsylvania. One interesting thing I noted is the path the earthquakes have taken. They aren't exactly within the path of the eclipse, but they're pretty close. On February 6, 2023, a series of earthquakes killed over 55,000 people in Turkey and Syria. 3 days ago, Taiwan had its strongest earthquake in 25 years, killing 9 people, with 50 still missing. In the past 30 days, there have been 31,072 quakes of magnitudes up to 7.4. Over 31,000. So what does all of this mean? Luke 21:11 tells us, and there will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines and pestilences, and there will be fearful sights and great signs from heaven. Since 2020, we have been bombarded with one thing after another that takes up our time. Things that cause fear and anxiety, and every one of these things are distractions. And I didn't even mention things like the upcoming election and all of the mess surrounding that, the obsession with UFOs lately, Hollywood and the elites and the accusation of illicit activities within those groups. Christians are arguing on social media about the stupidest things, along with 100 other things. All of these things are distractions. It's like being in a paintball fight. Just when you let your guard down, something else goes whizzing by your face that will keep you from focusing. And if you're like me and you're kind of already challenged in that area anyway and you're easily distracted, this whole mess is a nightmare. Last week, somebody on Facebook told me I didn't have the biblical authority to celebrate Jesus rising from the dead. He said, God wants us to worship as he has directed us to worship. Well, obviously I wanted clarification on that, and after a little back and forth, and I was very polite, but I wanted some specific Bible verses that backed up all these other things he was saying as well. But he just kept saying the same thing over and over with no scriptural reference at all. And eventually he blocked me from the conversation, but I wasted way too much time in that conversation. And for what? Was I doing that for God's glory? I don't know. I don't think so. I really did want an answer to my question, but as soon as I saw that he was never going to give me an answer, I should have just scrolled on. Every one of these distractions is from Satan. I can tell you that the day I sat down to finally organize my thoughts on this video, I had so much to do. I had to take my grandson to school in the pouring rain, and then I had to go to the grocery. I found out the night before that our credit card was fraudulently used, and it took me over an hour that next day to switch all of our recurring charges over to a different card. The dog pooped in the house because he doesn't like going out in the rain. My daughter and sister-in-law were texting about our trip to see the eclipse and the nightmare that it's going to be traffic-wise. And there were more things going on, but I hadn't even sat down to read my Bible yet, and all of those distractions almost took priority over my reading and prayer time. I had to make myself sit down and do that first before some of those other things. And the same thing happened again today as I was finishing up preparing for this video. I woke up this morning and first thing on my mind was all the cleaning and cooking and packing that I knew I had to do today. And all of that almost stopped me from my prayer time and reading my Bible. In these last days, which I do think that we are living in, Satan is going to go after us. He is going to give us reasons to worry, reasons to fear, reasons to not read our Bible, not to pray, not to speak to each other with love, not to share the gospel with those who are lost. And as related to the eclipse and all of the disturbing stuff that seems to be piling up around it, we need to remember, the Lord is on my side. I will not fear. What can man do to me? Well, technically, I guess man can do a lot to us, but Jesus said, do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. And as far as having fear in general, my favorite verse is Deuteronomy 31:6. Be strong and of good courage. Do not fear, nor be afraid of them. For the Lord your God, he is the one who goes with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. I'm sure there are a lot more conspiracies and maybe even some legit stuff going on out there surrounding the eclipse. And I know that for those with loved ones who are not ready to meet Jesus, talk of the last days causes a mixture of emotions. But don't be afraid. Be ready, but don't live in fear. Live boldly and keep your eyes on Jesus. My advice is try to have a great weekend. Stay safe if you're traveling for the eclipse, but I don't think I'll go as far as advising anyone to bury water with cinnamon in it and drink it the next day. If all of these events are the signs spoken of in Luke 21, remember what Jesus said in verse 28. Now, when these things begin to happen, look up and lift up your heads because your redemption draws near. I'll see you next time, hopefully with an exciting but relatively uneventful eclipse update. And again, stay safe, and thank you all so much for watching.